My name is Donyell Barber, and this is Franklin Boulevard Media. So I was born in the blazing hot month of August here in Gastonia, North Carolina, in the great year of 1974. And I was born and raised in the Highland community, which is very near and dear to my heart even to this day. And when I fast forward, you'll learn that right now, present day, I'm working in the Highland community. So I'm very proud of that. But I was born the fifth child to my parents, Beth and Hamrick Bratton. And I tell people I'm a oops baby because there's 8 years between my sister and I, and so I was unplanned. They were not expecting or planning to have me, but here I am, and I guess God just had another plan for them. So I was very blessed to have 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters, and there's a blessing in being a baby and having older siblings because they start working and going out on their own, making money. So in addition to your parents helping to take care of you and spoil you, your older brothers and sisters do too. So I was very blessed to grow up with a large family, not only immediate family, but when it came to both my mom and my dad was the oldest of 13 children. And so I grew up with a lot of cousins who seemed more like sisters. So although I was a baby of my immediate family, I certainly wasn't alone because I had my cousins to grow up alongside of. So I had a wonderful childhood here growing up in Gastonia. And, I know that I am who I am today because of my upbringing and my family. And so, growing up, of course, living in Highland, I went to, I can remember walking to school. Kids don't walk blocks anymore to school, but I walked from Rankin Avenue in Highland all the way to what we know now as Yorkchester Middle School. And back then it was Clay Street Elementary. And now when I think about it, that was a pretty long walk for a 5 and 6 year old because we didn't have buses. We didn't have buses at Clay Street. Now maybe there were buses on the other side of town, but not in West Gastonia. We didn't have buses at Clay Street, so we had to walk. And maybe we got them later on. I don't remember ever riding a bus to Clay Street. We walked, or our parents picked us up from school, or took us to school and picked us up. And took us home. So now looking at that, times have certainly changed. I couldn't see my 5 and 6 year old niece and nephews walking that distance, but we certainly did it. And that's where we created bond. We were able to bond with our friends along those walks. So I cherish those times. And then, of course, I didn't want to go to Ashley like everyone else. All of my friends went off to Ashley, but I went in a different direction and ended up going to Highland Junior High School, which is now what we know as Highland Tech, which ranks very high among schools in our nation and in our country. So, but it was Highland Junior High at that time. And again, couldn't take a bus because I was out of district. So I'm thankful for those older siblings who were able to take me to school each morning. And then, of course, when the weather warmed up, sometimes I walked from my home to Highland Junior High, and I was very active in school. I believe that's where my leadership training began. I was a cheerleader. I served on student council, so very active in junior high. And I'm very, again, that was part of my foundation and learning to be a leader among my peers even at that time. And then I took it on back to the mighty Green Wave, Ashbrook. That's where I went to high school at Ashbrook. And again, enjoyed my journey there. I tell people that I remember more about junior high than I did high school. Not quite sure why, I enjoyed the journey through high school, and of course was active in different clubs there, and certainly established lifelong, and lasting friendships with people that I went to school with at Ashbrook, and we are friends to this day. And so from there, I knew I wanted to go to college and wasn't sure where I wanted to go. But before I even talk about that journey, I want to back up just a minute, because when I was at Highland Junior High, I actually had a very tragic situation happen in my life, and my father died. My father died when I was in the 8th grade. I was 13 years old, and that was a very traumatic time in my life, and I'm very grateful for my upbringing and my family and my friends at that time, because they helped me through, whether they even know it or not, they helped me through that period of time. Thinking back, I know that I could have went one way or the other in that situation, because I could have allowed that traumatic situation to take me in a direction that would not have been healthy for me, and it certainly would not have pleased my father. So, every chance I get, I talk about still being that 13-year-old girl who's trying to make her dad happy in everything that she does, and that is me. Even to this day, I'm still at that point of time in my life, and my goal is to continue to make him proud and happy as if he was here even now. But again, it was just a very traumatic time for me, and I'm just grateful that I made it through that time. And again, it was because of teachers who were important in my life. I'll never forget when reality hit me that my dad was gone, and I was sitting in my English class. I believe it was my English class, and it just was like a ton of bricks that hit me. And my teacher, without me saying anything or doing anything, because she knew me, she knew her students, and I always acknowledge her, and that was Martha Laurie. And she looked at me and she knew something just wasn't right. And I can remember just like it was yesterday, her walking me down the hallway and talking with me and consoling me and bringing me through that period of time in my life. And that got me over. And I'm forever grateful to her and to Highland Junior High, the teachers, the principal, who was Mr. Deadman, who is now serving on the school board at that time. So again, it was those foundations that gave me strength and helped me to be who I am then and who I am now. But back to being in Ashbrook and walking through those mighty green wave halls. I was at my locker one day, or I could have been at my friend's locker, and that was Jennifer Joyner, and I give her credit for this. And she said to me, I visited a school that I believe it would be perfect for you. And I'm thinking, really? And she said, yes. So I was like, okay. And I said, well, what school was it? She said it was Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. And I thought, wow. And it's just like something just hit me in the pit of my stomach. I had traveled to Atlanta because my grandmother was living in Atlanta, and had lived in Atlanta, and I had an uncle in Atlanta. And maybe that was the connection, not sure, but that piqued my interest. And I applied to 2 colleges. Now kids are applying to sometimes 10 and 12 colleges. And this was before internet and before I had to go to the counselor's office and have, write to school, have them mail me information. And something just piqued my interest about that school, and I applied, and sure enough, I got into that school, and it was a life-changing opportunity for me. I didn't get to visit the campus before, like kids. They're just so blessed today. They get to go visit. I didn't have that opportunity, but I went there blindly. Just my intuition and my gut said that that's where I belong. And before I was able to go off to college, I had another opportunity that was presented to me. I've just been so blessed with these opportunities that have come up, and I thank God that He puts me in the right place with the right people who open doors for me. And I had a friend who had traveled to Southeast Asia, and she thought enough of me to extend the opportunity to me to travel to Southeast Asia. Now, I was 17 years old at the time when this opportunity was presented to me. And I talked to my mom about it, and I think back on that now. If my son came to me at 17 and said he wanted to travel 24 hours on a plane ride away from me, either I'm going to be on the plane with him, or, I'm going to just have a complete meltdown. But my mother, in all her strength, allowed me the opportunity to go and to travel. And at that time, it was the richest country in the world, and that was Brunei in Southeast Asia. So I've had an amazing journey. I've had an amazing life. I learned so many different things. I believe that when it comes to equity, when it comes to inclusion, when it comes to, just being exposed to different cultures, I credit everything that I've been through in life, and especially the opportunity at 17 years old to travel to Southeast Asia and go to the country of Brunei. I went to Singapore. Now that's popular. People go to Singapore and Dubai. But those were opportunities I had as a young girl. And I turned 18 years old, as a matter of fact, when my 18th birthday was spent in Brunei. And that was an exceptional opportunity. And I ended up going to Spelman College a semester late. So as opposed to going in the fall of 92, I went in the spring of 93. And so, of course, I created more friendships with my Spelman sisters, and I didn't want them to leave me behind. So I hustled. I busted my tail working as it relates to schoolwork day and night. And I think that's how I often missed membership intake for my illustrious sorority that I'm a part of now, because I was too busy with my nose in the books, because I didn't want my Spelman sisters, the class of 96, to leave me behind. So I actually graduated in 3.5 years because I caught up that entire semester that I left. And I did that through Gaston College. I would go to Gaston College every summer and take those core classes and make sure that those classes were approved by Spelman. And that's how I was able to catch up and be able to graduate with the Olympian year students of Spelman College in 1996. Olympian because that's when the Olympics came to Atlanta. So it's just an exciting time and opportunity in my life. And so I came back home. I married early. I was married throughout my college years, and decided I had opportunities. I had opportunities to go to Missouri, take a position in Missouri, and other states I could have pursued. But I decided to return back home, not only to be with my family, but because I love Gastonia. And Gastonia had invested a lot in me, and I wanted the opportunity to give back and be a part of this community. So I came back to Gastonia and started working. My first job was with the Department of Health and Human Services, what we call now, but many of us know it as social services. I started out as a food stamp worker and Medicaid worker, and I worked my way up to becoming a what I was then now was an after hours child protective services worker. So I was the one knocking on doors in the evening times, checking on children, the welfare of children, making sure that children were safe in their homes. So again, just don't have time to tell it all, but that was an exceptional experience, and I spent 9 years with social services. And once again, one of those moments, I was sitting in a meeting and someone talked about a job opportunity, and again, it hit me in the pit of my stomach. You ever have that situation where you hear something or you see something and you know that's for me? It has me written all over it. And so Houston Matthews, Reverend Houston Matthews. At the time, he was the pastor of All Saints Episcopal Church here in Gastonia. And he talked about an executive director position for a program at that time that was called Interfaith Hospitality Network. And it was working with homeless children and their families. And just something about that just resonated with me. And so I talked to him about that, and he told me how to apply, and I applied. I interviewed, and I got the job, and I served as what we know now, because in the 12 years that I was there, we went through transition and even went through a name change. I was able to expand, of course, with the help of volunteers and with staff, expand the program, and where we were able to serve hundreds upon hundreds of children, homeless children, and their families, and also expanded to be able to help individuals or couples who were facing homelessness and homeless situations. So I did that for 12 years, and that was another opportunity for me to grow and learn as a leader and make many, many connections. And during my time there in 2012, I ran for school board of Gaston County. And at that time, I think it was about 7 of us in that race. And I didn't win that election. Someone else won that election. But again, it was a great learning experience for me. I was able to make many connections and meet a lot of different people with whom I'm friends with to this day. And so that gave me another foundation for something else that I'm very passionate about, and that's politics. I was a political science major at Spelman College, and wasn't sure if I wanted to go into public administration or go in or become an attorney. And guess what? I ended up not doing either one. But I still had a passion for politics. And although I don't consider myself to be a politician, I feel I'm a true public servant. But I have a passion for learning who gets what, when, and how. And that's basically what politics is. And so I stayed at Family Promise for 12 years. And here again, I was sitting in a board meeting and something else happened. Another opportunity was presented. And this time I kind of brushed it off because I was, didn't really think about it. And a dear friend of mine called me and said, you know what? I think you need to take another look at this position. Now, mind you, I'm on the board of the organization that was posting the position. So I decided to take another look at this position. And the more I read the job description, I thought, that's me. I mean, this position is for me. And so I called up the hiring manager and asked for a meeting and met with her to learn more about what they were looking for and to share a little bit about myself. And the more they talked, again, that intuition, that gut feeling just was bubbling up inside of me and said, this is for you. So I went for it. And it was scary. I was an executive director of a nonprofit organization, my own boss in a sense, of course, answering to a board of directors. But, that was quite a transition to have to think about. But I did it. I thought I don't have to worry about payroll. I don't have to worry about taxes, none of that. I can let somebody else worry about that. So in 2016, I took a leap of faith and took a position with what is now Contegra Health, and at that time was Gaston Family Health Services, and took that position as the community-centered health coordinator. I've been upgraded to director now after a few years, but I took the position as the community-centered health coordinator at that time, and I was charged with mobilizing community members to take a more active position, have a more active voice in addressing what we call the social determinants of health. So, all the things outside of our doctor offices that impact our health, whether it's food access, education, economic development, safety, all transportation, all the things that that stress us, that worry us, outside of a doctor's office? What are those things that as a community we can do to improve, to ultimately improve a person's health? So that's what I was charged with doing. And again, it gave me the opportunity to go back. I've come full circle after all these years and have come back into the Highland community. And I'm working with people that were friends with my parents and people that I grew up with throughout the years. And it has been truly a rewarding opportunity. And so just to fast forward from 2016 to where we are now in 2022, no one would have been able to convince me that I would be doing what I'm doing now, working with the people that I'm working with now. And ultimately, as a community, we decided to tackle food access. Growing up in Highland, I believe there was a grocery store, but it was way before my time when I came along in 74. So my entire childhood, we never had a grocery store. We had a couple of stores, corner stores, but we didn't have a grocery store. So if you didn't have transportation, it made it very difficult for you to be able to get access to fresh and healthy food. We had a man that came around he drove a truck and he had a weigh on the back of his truck, and he drove around and that's how, because my mother didn't drive. So I can remember him pulling up at our house because he knew she was a good customer, and he would sell her fresh fruits and vegetables. But after a while that went away. So as a community we were left in what is now coined as the phrase that's coined as a food desert or food insecure. But I'm blessed with the opportunity to tackle, along with community members and staff, tackle the issue of lack of food access, fresh, healthy food in the community, and working with the community. And we have formed what we now know as Ram's Kitchen, which is quite popular in our community, and people come from all around Gaston County, not only in Gaston, but Lincoln, Cleveland, even Mecklenburg County, to take advantage of what we have to offer at Ram's Kitchen. And we're blessed that we've been able to tap into community members who have a passion and experience in food service. And they're cooking fresh food. I mean, they're chopping up onion and chopping up peppers and finding alternatives to the unhealthy things that we were accustomed to eating growing up, and making healthy food taste delicious. And I'm very proud of my team and all that together that we've been able to accomplish in our community. Again, another full circle moment for me, because my father was, if it was in this day and time, back then he was a cook. That's what they called him. He was a cook. But he would have been a chef at that time with Gaston Memorial Hospital, which is still Gaston Memorial Hospital, but we know it now as Caramount Regional Hospital. But my father served that hospital for many, many years in that kitchen, and had the opportunity to hire others in that kitchen to work alongside of him. So again, another full circle moment for me to be able to work with a team who are cooking healthy, delicious food for our community, and it's just a nod and a privilege, and me paying respect to my father, who was a renowned cook in our community. And so again, just another full circle moment for us. And we're operating out of Third Street Presbyterian Church, and we have many partners. And this opportunity, working and doing what I'm doing now, has allowed me the opportunity to travel the country. I've been from California, all the way to Philadelphia, across this nation, talking about Gastonia and what's happening in Gastonia. And my takeaway from that is, as a community, we should not allow people on the outside of our community to appreciate what's happening on the inside of our community more than what we do. My husband used to have a saying he would say, it's a poor frog that won't praise its own pond. And I think about that a lot of times, that, we should not allow outsiders to think more of our community than what we do. We have a very rich history here in the city of Gastonia, and we have a lot of things that we can brag about and be very proud of. And I'm proud. I never say I'm from Charlotte. People do that. They say, where you from? They say, oh, I'm from Charlotte. No, baby, I'm from Gastonia. And you know what people say? I've heard of Gastonia. I said, I know you've heard of Gastonia. Why? Because James Worthy came out of Gastonia. Eric Sleepy Floyd came out of Gastonia. And I can call so many others, Maria Howe, so many others that have come out of Gastonia. I came out of Gastonia. Oh, city council. I just blazed right over that, didn't I? Okay, so let's talk about that. 2019. I talked about my love of politics. Again, when the time is right, and when it's just your time and it's your time, again, another one of those moments that hit me in the pit of my stomach when I decided to step up to the plate and put my name in the hat and run for city council for the city of Gastonia. Now, what many people may not know is that back in 2009, I applied to fill the seat of Mr. James Watson, who had passed away while he was serving his term with the city of Gastonia. That was back in 2009, and I believe I was the first person to put my application in. But ultimately, the council decided not to choose me to be on council at that time. They chose someone else. But I didn't allow that to discourage me or to keep me from setting my eyes on the prize and perhaps looking at a future opportunity to be involved in local politics. So in 2019, 10 years later, I ran for city council for the city of Gastonia. And I'm very blessed and sometimes perplexed to say that I then in November, I believe it was November, gosh, I forgot the date. I don't know if it was the 3rd or the 6th, but the first Tuesday in November of 2019, I was voted and elected as the first African-American female to serve on the council, the city council for the city of Gastonia. And while I'm very proud of that, it's a bit disappointing that it took so many years for that to happen. But if God had to choose anyone to do it, I'm grateful that he chose me. I know I was the first, but I know I will not be the last. Gastonia's future, our present and future, is extremely bright. We've experienced what some would consider to be slow growth in Gastonia when you compare us to other municipalities in the Charlotte region. But I don't say that it was slow. I say it's been timely and it's right on time. We, as a city, we've had opportunities to learn from those other municipalities and what fast growth can do to a community. So our growth has been steady. It's been at a steady pace. But we are on the verge of doing big things and doing great things here in the city of Gastonia. Just last year, we're coming up on a year, and I was so blessed to be a part of that decision-making process. I wasn't on the front. I give credit to the former council members who were on the front end of making a bold decision to invest in a stadium, a professional baseball stadium here in the city of Gastonia. So I had the opportunity to come in middle ways of that and to see that through. So we're coming up on a year that we opened the doors and celebrated back in April of 2021. In the midst of a pandemic, we were able to open up what we now know as our Fuse District, which houses Caramount Health Park, which is home to the honey hunters here in Gastonia. and I'm very proud of that. And again, while it was a controversial move, many people didn't understand it, didn't appreciate it. But even before becoming a member of council, I saw what that development could do to our community. And it has certainly uplifted West Gastonia. And now I'm beginning to see more developers who are interested in what West Gastonia has to offer. And now I'm always constantly pushing, not only just for Highland community, but for West Gastonia to continue to grow and to experience the growth that it needs in order to continue to attract development, attract people who want to be a part of our community. But not only that, people like myself who may go off to college but will come back to the community and serve this community. And you may work in Charlotte or somewhere else, or work here in Gastonia, but Gastonia will become your home. So I'm real excited about the future of Gastonia and what Gastonia has to offer. Many people, again, see the value of being able to live in Gastonia, where prices may not be as high if you live in other areas of our region, and they've made Gastonia their home. And so again, we're a growing community. The last census showed that we went from we grew, I believe, I want to say somewhere around 12%. Overall in the county, we grew between 10 and 12%, which is huge over the last 10 years to experience that type of growth. And it's because people are seeing the value of what we have to offer here in Gastonia. And they're coming and they're moving, and people are returning back to our community who once lived here. And of course, those who've always been here, we're enjoying what we have to offer here in the city of Gastonia.